The following is a list of Moors who have been kidnapped and are being held for a demand of income. The demand of income is being made by against the family, as well as through fraudulent submissions of documents alleging that they are caring for the people in some sort of long-term care fashion. These Moors have been kidnapped literally off the streets by employees of various corporations that are guised as county, city, town, township, borough. These names that we have all been mentally conditioned to believe are government are not. They are exactly what they say they are. They are municipal corporations. And as such, if you do the research, you will find that they are foreign corporations on American soil. Therefore, they do not have standing nor jurisdiction to make a demand of income from the Aboriginal Indigenous people or any people on American soil. This making their actions criminal. However, as Moors, we must bring these crimes to the forefront via civil complaints against the unalienable constitutional treaty secured rights of the people, Aboriginal Indigenous Moors of this land. So we start out with our sister RVBey, who was kidnapped through a joint venture between Memphis Corporation and Shelby Corporation under the purview of Tennessee. Now, we say under the purview of Tennessee, which is a union state, because every union state is bound and obligated to protect the people from foreign and domestic invasion. We then have Dawood Ill under the purview of Arkansas. And if we don't have the municipal corporation that actually did the kidnapping, then we just reference the union state that is bound and obligated to protect the people. We have Amir Moslemin Ill and Kusu Ra Kushbey under the purview of Missouri. We have Asar Patan Amin Ra Bey under the purview of Ohio. We have Jeremy Paler Ill, Terry Thorne Bey, J. Mikal Brooks Bey, Joseph Kanaday Ill, Kush Amir Bunch Ill, Emmanuel Billings Bey, Yasin Khalik Alamin Ill, Michael Curry Bey, all being held under the purview of North Carolina. Noble Crisco Ill under the purview of New Jersey. Messiah Aziz Ill and Crystal Ill, both kidnapped through a joint venture between Mercer, Freehold, and Trenton Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. We're still waiting on an update of the infant baby of Patricia Bey, which was kidnapped by the Atlantic Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. We have Eldridge Teron Fisher Ill and Martise Sevillon Ill under the purview of Indiana. Solomon Ill Bey and Mumi Abu Bey under the purview of Texas. William Barrett Ill under the purview of Virginia. Bomani Abidwil Ill, kidnapped by the Chesapeake Corporation under the purview of Virginia. Chere Bey, kidnapped under the purview of West Virginia. Thomas Lee Bey, kidnapped under the purview of California. Victor Eduardo Evaye Juarez Ill, kidnapped by Holland Corporation under the purview of Georgia. And then last but not least, I have one last more. Twain Bey, kidnapped. Let's see. I'm not sure if I have the information of who. Oh, kidnapped by Harnett Corporation under the purview of North Carolina. So there we have Moors that have been kidnapped and are being held hostage by employees of various corporations on American soil, which is a violation of the American Constitution, and it is a treaty violation. And being that we are talking about Moorish Americans, Aboriginal indigenous to this land, who are being kidnapped by foreign employees of a foreign corporation on American soil, this makes this an international issue, because you have two nations with one nation warring against another. Therefore, this is an international issue. If you have a family member near or far within your immediate family, or one of the family that you know and you would like them added to this list, please send an email to MHHS-Eyes-Wide-Open@gmail.com. In the subject line, put kidnapped Moor, and please provide us with their free national appellation, the municipal corporation that the employee is operating through that kidnapped them, along with the union state that this corporation is in purview to. All righty. Thank you very much.
Islam. And I have one more to add to that list that I still haven't added to the recording, and that is Natural Tahuti Ill. Not sure where he was kidnapped or what the specifics are, what union state he's in purview of. But Natural Tahuti Ill is also more than anything kidnapped and is being held hostage. This is Anna-Ida L., along with my co-host, Ms. Raim Olive L.
Peace and love, Anna-E. Peace and love, Moors. Moors. Worldwide. 30 Moors take a bath, sins are washed by purity and life. And just for the record, Anna-E, I spoke, I spoke to Patricia Bays. I spoke to her mate briefly yesterday, and the situation is looking better for them. Slowly but surely, they're getting this roaming off their backs. So wonderful. That's all I can say for now. But you know what I mean? It's a process of an extensive history that has to be broken, and they are slowly but surely definitely getting the roaming off their back. So we see that coming in the future, where they could be reunited with their lineal descendant or lineal descendant, etc. So,
wonderful. All right, and we got RVBey.
Islam, peace and love to all.
And we have Cujo YL.
Islam, peace and love.
Islam, Cujo, how you doing?
Islam.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm straight. Everything's good. You know,
okay, good.
Complain.
That's what it is. Great class tonight, Moore.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Absolute.
As usual.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good. Go ahead.
Well, I got to ask a question, though, because I didn't get to class. I just want to know, what was the class about?
It was just a Q&A. We just answered some emails and stuff like that.
Oh, that's great. That is always good, because it's through the emails of the questions that the people ask that you realize where their mind is and what answers they, and what they need to adjust in order to take their place amongst the affairs of man and link themselves back to the family of nations. So that's always good. Islam.
Islam, hold on real quick before we go on. I was in the chat, building with a couple of people. And real quick, Ma, if you could just affirm for the record, what was that temple? Do you know what the temple was that denied the brother entry because he was allegedly a felon? Do you know what temple that was?
You know, that's the one thing I never did ask him that, but they had sent the email and wanting to know how can it be that, I pay my dues or whatever, something to that effect, and because of felon, I am not able, his wording was, I am being denied my birthright. So that was the first thing, is that nobody can deny you your birthright. But what they were saying after I wrote back and said, what are you talking about? Who denied you and what for what? I had no idea that they were talking about some temple. I don't know. Maybe I could find out because it was an email correspondence. I never even asked. But what I said to them is, hey, that's incorrect. That's only proof that, they're dealing with membership in an incorrect manner, I guess. Because first of all, and let's just say this, and then Mitch, you can say whatever you want to say, but it's important to note that most of the people who are called a felon today, lacking, of course, if they did commit a crime, they're really not that, because they have not been through due process of law at all. They'll arrest you, for traffic, and that's not even criminal. And put, it's craziness. So anyway, go ahead. I don't know, but I'll try to find out.
Okay, cool. Well, when we get the details, I guess we can go in on that. But yeah, I just, for the record, if you knew, it would be cool to let the people know so that they know what time it is when it comes to that particular temple. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as we always say, the only temple that we know of that we can speak of, not saying that they don't exist, that, is cool with membership is, of course, the case in Gatorland with Cujo, and, like that people, our best advice to the people is to do some studies, and then I think that's kind of along the lines, really, with all the information that we put out. It's really about telling the people you have to take responsibility to the position of your own status. I mean, status itself means your relationship to the community, period. And people have to start taking some responsibility. Our people have been for so long, putting stuff on other people instead of themselves. I mean, even stuff as far as following simple directions, which is a problem we're having. Is people don't follow directions and they're clear as pie, and then they don't want to even own it and take responsibility, and then they cause like backups and stuff like that, and it's not cool. And then we also find, and this is really a problem, that's why we need to have more institutions for this cause, and institutions of learning as well, because I don't know, it's like they don't really study, they got the wrong concepts of what this is, and they get involved, and you don't want to deny them that they are by bloodline who they are. But in these days and times, and I know, we can attest to that, in recent experiences, if you don't know what the heck you're talking about when it comes to jurisdiction, you know what I mean, and your domicile and your status in relationship to the community, really, you're going to get hung. And nobody can do that. It's not, the prophet said that you're going to gain back your heritage, and it also states chapter 1, I believe it is, yes. But it's going to be in a conflict that can't be told in words, which means you have to experience it. You have to, you can't explain it because it's happening at that time. You're trying to explain it later, but some degrees, they're not done in a classroom. So, I mean, you can't get them in a class setting. So when, for instance, you guys answered questions and answers today, right, and gave them the exact answers, they need to sit back and marinate in that. If they got to sit and meditate and ask, from the inside into the universe, how do I apply that with my situation right now? If they have to ask that question to the ethers after getting the answer, and they have to ask how do I apply it to what I'm doing, then they need to do that. They need to look within and reach out to the ancestral energies, because that's what this is about. As you have always said before, this is about demons, angels and demons. This is about lower self and higher self activity. And the lower self activity has prevailed and spilled over into natural beings who are good and are ruined by this other energy, because this demonic energy, if you will, because they don't know the difference, or they don't realize how divine this is. First, some people I have also found, and I don't mean to go on, but I gotta say this. Like, I have even found some, including you might attest to this as well, and there's you too, and Anna Eve as well, that they will be reading the Circle. Some read the Circle 7, but maybe because they have not really studied enough or understand, or they come on a platform with a wrong concept, and they still sometimes can't get why it's divine. I mean, I had someone, and they was quoting the Circle 7, blah, 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 and they wanted to know, well, what does divine have to do with it? And I'm like, are you kidding me? The prophet told you have to know the truth and the divine truth. How can you ask that question? So, but that's where we're at today, really calling within ourselves, because I think there are seriously, it may seem like to the people at this moment that this is a losing thing, or that it's just, my goodness, they're coming from everywhere. But isn't that what leeches and vampires do? They're coming to try, you're girding yourself up and closing off all the places where they can suck your blood, literally, or your bloodline in this case. And so, they're swarming because they're hungry. And so they're saying all these things out of their mouth that are not truth, and it's not what they say, it's what you say and what you do. And sometimes you have to be still and just let the truth prevail regardless to what they say, because they do dog and pony all day long. Islam.
And just a quick interjection. A quick ritual for people who maybe haven't done this. There's a Bobby Hemmett ritual from back in the day that before you even engage any type of new thought processing, that you take some time to go to that quiet place within and apologize to your subconscious mind for allowing the propaganda machine to put things there that might not or that should not be there. Because we know that through the commercial propaganda, that, or even with cartoons, what's in the background is what they're attacking your subconscious mind with.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so much things that we've indirectly implanted in the subconscious mind. Coming into newfound wealth of information, those things in the subconscious mind that aren't supposed to be there become blockages to you getting it.
Yeah.
Like, it literally stops you from getting it. And when you have that hump that you can't get over, it's something in your subconscious mind that's blocking you. And I know that people don't go there because that's older Hemet stuff that people might not even have access to right now, as far as self-realization rituals. You know, so just to keep that in mind, that with all the information that we're intaking, you know, the catch basin for the information is the subconscious mind. Whatever you don't get initially, it goes to your subconscious mind automatically and waits till you're ready to get it. And then those things present themselves when the time is suitable for it to be presented. So I just want to put that out there. Islam.
Islam.
Islam. All right, there's just so many things to talk about, so many things going on that, you know, and it's like this every week. It's like, what do you do first? What do you talk about? There's so much. But, you know, none of it should really be surprising to us because it's all been prophesied, everything that's going on. If we've been studying and reading, then we ought to know that it's all been going on. Today's broadcast is entitled, Corporations Are Not Our Salvation. Our salvation, as is everyone, is bloodline and lineal descent line, which equates to declaring, i.e. being clear, of your nationality. If you are wallowing around in corporate activity, you have missed the lesson. Study, 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 and nationality is the order of the day. There is nothing else. Nothing else. Now, one of these things, you know, because we have Moors that are so fixated on corporations and corporate activity and this presumption or assumption that they are a corporation or a corporation have been created of them in some capacity somewhere that is being used against them. What I have noticed is instead of people, using that, whatever evidence they have to support that, instead of them using that evidence to show human trafficking and genocide, they are combing through corporate statutes, policies, and procedures to try and figure out how they can get some kind of control of this corporate activity that somebody else is doing that would be, I guess, beneficial to them if they can just get their hands on it. And what I have noticed is because of that mentality and because of that type of thinking, people literally are going out and they're creating corporations in the name of bloodline, so to speak. For example, if you're a Moor of the Moorish nation, the word Moorish nation has been incorporated. If you are
say that again. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Moorish nation has been incorporated. Go ahead.
Moorish nation. Somebody, and I experienced this, someone incorporated the word Moorish nation. And they probably thought that they were doing something wonderful, but this is where lack of study and lack of information comes in. Because they have incorporated this word Moorish nation, now when you go into these hearing rooms, they are now quoting this case law, which they're looking at as precedent. And they're rattling off all of this case law, and all of it has Moorish nation, Moorish nation, Moorish nation, Moorish nation. Because somebody created a Moorish nation incorporated, and now if you use that word Moorish nation, it is presumed that you are a member of that corporation. Therefore, you fall under statutes, ordinances, and codes. Lack of information.
Wait a minute. So you said it well, but that last part you kind of sunk down into your seat, which I don't blame you. So now, since somebody, some more terribly unstudied or infiltrated, I don't know which one is worse, incorporated the Moorish nation. So when you go into court, to these tribunals or whatever, they now choose, and they'd happily jump on it because that's all they are, corporations. And they assume, they start rattling off, they're using it like it's precedent and start rattling off the Moorish nation that's incorporated and assume that you are also a corporation yourself. Now that is ridiculous. Yep. Go ahead, finish going. See, that's
it is ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but you know, a lot of things that people are doing today, it's so ridiculous. It's like, as I see what people are doing today, and I get that it's in desperation, but you know what? There's nothing to be desperate about. Life is everlasting. If you don't get it now, you are going to get it later. Trust and believe. You ain't got to rush and do nothing. Take your time and study and know exactly what it is you're dealing with. All right? That's what we have to do. We have to be clear on that. But I understand that many people, they're running around, they're terrified. I don't care if you want to admit it or not. Your actions scream, I'm terrified. The way to get rid of terror, which is fear, is to study. Just study. Just study, just study, just study, just study. And then, you know, like I said, I experienced this today. And then, you know, I had to interject my position, and, you know, and then, you know, I was told, you know, can I please be allowed to finish reading? So because I know this stuff didn't apply to me, it didn't matter. So I allowed this individual to continue reading all of this so-called case precedent that doesn't apply to me. I know it doesn't apply to me because the next thing she says in her summation, and as you listen to the verbiage that she is using, somebody must have created this corporation, and from the verbiage she was using, you know, she said everything short of it is not recognized by the Bureau of Indian Affairs. But the language that she was using just fell short of saying that. And then she said it's not recognized by the United States. And I didn't say nothing because I have congressional records that affirm otherwise. And here's the big point that many people miss. I did not go in there asking for them to acknowledge, and I didn't leave expecting an acknowledgement. Because here's the thing. As I'm looking around the room, everybody in there is modern European. I'm a Muslim, lineal descendant of Moors born in Morocco. You are clearly modern European. I never, ever, 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 nor did my ancestors ever needed you to acknowledge me. It is absolutely the reverse. And that is that public record, congressional record, all right? That is a matter of public and congressional record. Hillary Clinton in 2012 herself said it was my people and my ancestors that recognized them. Here we are in 2016. And this modern European daughter is thinking that I came in expecting her to acknowledge and recognize me. Au contraire. No, that's not the way this goes. But it was all irrelevant And because it meant absolutely nothing to me, I didn't need to comment on it because my paperwork preceded me. I don't care what you want to say. My paperwork preceded me.
But if I can interject here with statements from the prophet, I think I understand now why he said, yes, I have given you enough information to save a nation. Now go out and save yourself. Because we're forced, absolutely forced to do so, especially if some Moor, went out and incorporated Moorish nation. We know that that's not, correct, and that doesn't make it a corporation per se. But what we do know is that they gave some, like they won't deal with any case laws that are already res judicata anyway, but they'll seek out that case law and make that precedent because it behooves them to do so, because they know that if we really knew who we were, we would never, ever, ever have done something that stupid, which was to put, to attempt to put the Moorish nation into and as a corporation. Like, you know what I mean? So they're going to use that against that person and against however many more Moors they can use. They're going to bring that into their table because their table is that. And see, this affects everyone, but how does it affect everyone? It affects everyone by, it is time to confess your own. Everyone must worship under their own vine and fig tree. And now you are forced to stand. And if you're looking for the Savior, it damn sure is going to be look within, because whoever did that, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other people, I think you would agree probably, that followed that as well. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. There's, you know what? It is, the prophet said there's more than enough work for everybody. And, it is so much work to be done. And it's like when you say that, people seem to interpret it as, I need to engage in commerce and I want to do international commerce, that mindset to me, and, you can disagree, but to me what you just said with that type of a mindset is that you're still under the mental enslavement of Rome, because this has never been about commerce. This land has never been about commerce. This land has always been about the brilliance and creative genius of Moor. Because we were and still are merchants. We're merchants. We created the most beautiful works of art on planet Earth, small and large. All right? And that is what we presented around the world for exchange. Not necessarily to each other, because it was clear to all of us, even those people that came here from other places, that this land is land of the free. You're supposed to be able to live free on this land. Now, the reason that that's not happening today is because, we all took up the mental thinking of modern Europeans. And the prophet said, I came here to free you from your mental enslavement. And, the mental enslavement, that's a very deep thing. And people, it's like we got people, their actions say, just because they put their free national appellation and nom de guerre on a proclamation and name correction, that they're now mentally free. No, you're not. You haven't even scratched the surface. Most people haven't even begun. And I can tell, because the first thing that you got to recognize as you are freeing yourself is that whatever you are doing, you cannot do what you used to do. What you used to do is you depended on somebody else to take responsibility for you. If somebody else didn't tell you, you didn't go out searching for the information. In fact, you made them responsible for not telling you the information that you could have went out and found on your own. That's not what this is about. And if there is an expectation that mental enslavement is going to continue under the Moorish nation, once you declared, or I should say proclaimed your nationality, what you've just demonstrated is that you have yet to declare, which means you're not clear. Because this is about people taking responsibility. No more blaming someone else. It's 100% your responsibility. And if you truly get that, then you know that you can't really do nothing until you first study. You've got to study. Everything is first study. Don't do nothing. Study first. Wallowing around in corporate activity, that is not our salvation. I've read almost everything I can get my hands on that the prophet wrote. I've never heard him say, go and establish a corporation, try to gain control of this corporate fiction that is alleged to have been created. I've never heard him say anything. I've never read anything. The only thing that I can tell you he's ever said consistently is enforce the Constitution and declare your nationality. He says you don't do nothing. Declare your nationality. People don't get what that means. If you don't do nothing, declare your nationality. That means if you don't do nothing, make sure your behind is 100% clear on your nationality. What that means, where it comes from, and do you need somebody to recognize you or acknowledge you? That is an insult to our ancestors to even make that presumption.
Can I read? This is appropriate, and I just happen to be going through this. I'm going to read nationality. Nationality, the quality or character which arises from the fact of a person belonging to a nation or state. Nationality determines the political status of the individual, especially with reference to his allegiance, while domicile. Now, notice how they throw domicile right in here under the definition for your understanding and overstanding. While domicile determines his civil status. I mean, it couldn't be more clear. And then it says nationality arises either by birth or by naturalization. Well, the prophet said birth, right, not naturalization. And so that is the definition of nationality. So now let's say that if you say you're a national, then apparently your domicile would have to be a national domicile. And it's interesting, because just today I put up this definition in a little map, which is a visual that I'm so proud of because I had it in my overhead lesson presentation. And it is explaining what national domicile is, what quasi-national domicile is, what municipal domicile is. And when you read it, you will understand if you're a national, then you are of a national domicile, which clearly says, and I know that you and I talked about this, and you said that even though I may have put up the drawing and the map, the drawing on there, it's on the About Texas pages, that there may be still many who will not get it. And I'm thinking, well, why not? I put up the definition of national domicile. I put up the definition of quasi-national domicile, of which the quasi-national domicile is one that involves resident in a state. I put up the municipal domicile, and that is one which is distinguished from a national domicile and a quasi-national, and it has reference to residents in a county, township, or municipality. And national domicile says the domicile of a person considered as being within the territory of a particular nation and not with reference to a particular locality or subdivision of a nation. So when you look at the states, they are, in fact, subdivisions of nations, and therefore they are quasi-national. So when you say you're national, then you are of a national domicile, which means you can't be resident in any state or a member/citizen of any state. You can't, because it's quasi-national. So back to the definition of nationality, the quality or character which arises from the fact of a person belonging to a nation or state. Nationality determines the political status of the individual, especially with reference to allegiance, while domicile determines his civil. So and then they're like, well, what do you mean domicile determines his civil? It means that if you say you domicile in a quasi-national venue, then your civil liberties and your civil status has just been clipped. It has. And your liberties. You have to know that you are in a national domicile and that you're a national. So I just said that to say that, we can say these things, but as you said, unless someone studies and gets just the definition of nationality. Now, people will say, well, they're not dealing with that. They're calling it nationalism. Can you imagine a nation of people calling the discussion of nationality nationalism? I mean, they act as if they're in some other place or some other venue or, like they're trying to get out from under, but your birthrights, your liberties, they didn't go anywhere. They're there. It's a matter of enforcing them, exercising them. And that's why, as you just said, that he said enforce the Constitution because it puts everybody in their place. Everyone. Now, also some people think the Constitution is suspended. They think it's martial law. None of that stuff applies to nationals. So, I don't know.
That's why studying is so important because, people, the prophet said, I came to take you out from under mental enslavement, all right? If the mental enslavement was so obvious, we would have taken ourselves out of it a long time ago, all right? That's why he came. He brought us all this information, and then he said, okay, now save yourself. I gave you the keys. I gave you the information. I gave you everything. Now save yourself. That is not going to take, look, I've had this information since 2008. But actually, I've had some of it from before 2008. And you know what? I can tell you right now, you never, ever get to a place where you cannot be vigilant on how these people will try to slip you out of your national standing. You got to always be vigilant because they play all kind of tricks on you. And the biggest trick that's going on today, oh my Jesus, whew, the biggest trick that people is falling for today is they are rushing, and I'm so loving the fact that people are rushing to put in proclamations and name corrections. It's great. But you are canceling it out almost immediately because that proclamation and name correction is a lawful affidavit. And many people are going and almost at the same time that they're submitting a name correction or proclamation, which you are pledging your allegiance to your national family. And almost at the same time, you're going and you're engaging in this corporate activity and you're negating the affidavit because you just signed a new affidavit. How do you cancel out a previous affidavit? You create a new affidavit. And people are creating these new affidavits because they're terrified. And they just don't want to study and they want a quick fix. There is no quick fix. The prophet said you didn't get into this overnight. You ain't going to get out of it overnight. So there is no quick fix. The only fix is to study. And I'm sorry if that's a curse word for some people, but that's the only way you're going to get out of this. There is no shortcut because this is the shortcut. This was the prophet brought you the shortcut. If you didn't have this, you would have to go through an entire lifetime of constant study and then come back. This is the shortcut.
What do you mean by negating it? Like they'll declare it?
They're canceling it out. I got somebody sent me a paperwork. They sent me a name correction and proclamation, and they wanted it in 3 signatures. All right, 3 autographs sealed. That's an affidavit. And at the very same time, they wanted this other document that they created, or maybe they got it from someplace else. And when you read the language of that affidavit, it cancels out the name correction and proclamation. I mean, it's like math. You know, if you got a negative and a negative, it cancels each other out. If you got a 1 on the left and a 1 on the right, it cancels it out. And people are submitting proclamation name correction and almost immediately canceling it out.
Okay.
Because they're out there doing all of this corporate activity. This is not about a corporation. It's about bloodline. It is about blood. It's got nothing to do with corporations. It is about blood. That's it. And we got to wake up because we are throwing so much under the bus. And it's not that it's stopping the nation, but for people who are coming into this information and trying to study and do things, it makes it difficult, not just for the new people, but people who've been here. Now you're walking in and if you're not studying, or if you didn't if I hadn't gotten a heads up from somebody, I would have been going into this meeting room and saying, well, yeah, I am a member of the Moorish Nation, member of the Moorish Nation, member of the Moorish Nation. No, I'm not. I am a lineal descendant of Moors born Moors born in America. This is ridiculous. We gotta stop doing this, man. We really do. We gotta stop chasing down all of this stuff because we're terrified. We gotta just get in the book and stay there, because that's just one scenario. When you start looking at now, they got if you have a child and you want to get your child into any of these institutions that they're calling a school, you gotta go and get some residency affidavit of a residency, and then you got to get it notarized. Well, now if you just completed a name correction and proclamation, and now you've got this municipal corporation saying, I need you to do an affidavit of your residency, what is that? That just negates if you don't know how to sign. Let me premise it with this. You don't know how to sign and protect your rights. That affidavit is going to cancel out your name correction and proclamation. And it ain't just in these institutions. Everywhere you go, now they're trying to get you to get everything notarized. It's got to be an affidavit because of what? Because of this proclaiming of our nationality. And there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. And there's nothing wrong with proclaiming and then going back and trying to get clear. But if you do that, don't be trying to do stuff and you haven't even gone back to get clear. I mean, the name of the game here is study. You've got to be informed. You've got to make decisions based on sound information. You just can't fly by the seat of your pants. This is not that. If you want to fly by the seat of your pants, If you don't want to take responsibility for your actions and yourself, well, then go back and continue dealing with the modern Europeans, because that's the program that they brought. This, being responsible for yourself, that's the program that Prophet Noble Jew Ali brought. Islam?
Islam.
Sure.
Relative to this whole thing about the corporation, quote unquote, Moorish nation, there's always a track record for corporate activity. There's always a track record. I just want to read this so that we can get a perspective as to where these people are coming from, having this brilliant idea to incorporate the Moorish nation, right? This is November 29th, 1926, 1927, 1928. I'm really not sure the date, but based on the name, we know that they're using those dates as like landmarks to prove their authority, since they came after the authority. Right? This is the second paragraph of this. Actually, we'll just read the whole letter. Domestic public relation, Moorish court. For all members of Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated, Grand Sheikh Timothy Dingo L., Prophet Noble Jew Ali, Chief Magistrate, 3911 Bell Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, to Sheikh Pleasant Bay, Swift Angel Number 1, Baltimore, Maryland. Greetings in the name of peace. Oh, how wonderful for Moorish brothers to dwell together in unity. In reference to our telephone talk, I have now on hand the report of your visit at 2000 Hagerstown. This is my determination. The brothers at 2000 are going under the instructions of the one who has the search record on the title name Noble Jew Ali from the Copyright Office, August 2nd, 1974. File claim name on the title name Noble Jew Ali and his works. The Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated, according to Copyright Office instructions, have filed claim on the title name Noble Jew Ali and his works, and was successful under common law. I have proof from the Copyright Office for verification. Since I am not satisfied with common law, I cannot rest until I have myself, obtained the name of Prophet Noble Jew Ali and his works under federal law. I must go into the chamber of the dead and wake up the great kin, because he is the only God-man the Moorish Americans will hear. You may think the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America is under federal law, copyright law. Your thinking is wrong. It never has and never will be, because the Noble Jew Ali is an infinite way to put. Anyways, so these people have been playing games with what Noble Jew Ali brought. This is not some new people that incorporated something. This is the same people from the past who sold out. They're minions of today, perpetuating the same stuff that their past people did, because they taught them, right? You can also go to Copyright Office to see that they copyrighted the handshake, and they copyrighted the crescent and star, and they copyrighted the circle 7. The emblem, right? Circle 7, United States Patent and Trademark Office, register number 1465893. Just in case you want to check to make sure, you know. Register number 1465893. That's the 7 with the 4 quadrants around it, with Allah written under it. Trademarked.
Wow.
Now we know, because Allah is written under the 7, that's a corruption. That's not really the circle 7, because there was no Allah written.
Yeah.
The circle 7. When we look at the book, right? So, again, these are operations that have been in place that people are just continuing. And it's time for us to recognize that, you know, it's the same game, just like we were talking about in class today, that it's Inquisition, papal bulls and all that stuff again, just in a modern time. Nothing new they're doing. They're still trying to subjugate the Moors.
And corral them and control them. And how is it that they would even think, which is a desecration in a way to me, that they would copyright someone else's appellation? That is a title. Prophet Noble Drew Ali. How could they even think to do that?
Because they work for the other side.
Crazy.
Dangerous.
So yeah, that's crazy, fam. But you know what? I'm looking at it like, you know, with people making companies out of nationalities or corporations out of nation-free national appellations, that's sick. You know what I mean? That's sick. But this is why I proudly claim to just be a Moor American national, lineal descendant of those people. You know what I mean? Because, you know, a lot of people are playing with the Moorish, you know what I mean? And it brings me to a point in The Nigger Problem, the book called The Nigger Problem, age 20, you know, definitely available, RVBey Publications. But on page 20 it says, the true identity of the natural peoples of the Americas who have been falsely branded by Paleo-European colonists as Negroes, blacks, and colors, etc., is Moor. All that really pertains to them is called Moorish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, just the fact that people think nationalities or corporations is sad in itself. More than likely, they brought that corporation under 14th Amendment status, because I'm pretty sure, you know, they registered it with the state or some other type of quasi-nation, you know. But I would just say to that, you know, you can't let some of these activities, you know, ride in as if they overthrow your natural descent. You know what I mean? Because like Noble Drew Ali said, there is no one who can change the descent nature of man. So, you know, we're taking back the word Moor, American, Al-Moroccan, and things of that nature. And in the times of all of this, you got somebody wilding, creating not even a Moorish club, but incorporating the words Moorish nation. To me, that's sick. And so right now, I want to yield the floor. Islam.
Well, one of the things is that he also, Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, man must learn by signs and symbols. So they also incorporated those signs and symbols. That's ridiculous. That is just really like craziness. But you said something, Kuja. You said that something you said, would they put Allah under what? What did you say they put it under? Cujo, are you there?
Sorry, talking to mute.
Yeah, okay. You heard what I asked you?
Yeah. Underneath the 7, in the 4 quadrants, they have Allah written there.
Oh, okay. All right, but that's not okay. So that's what they incorporated.
That's what they incorporated.
Okay, so that makes it slightly different. That part's slightly different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the slight difference, it's the same way that, like you were saying, they're gonna find the BS and use that as case law, but not use the actual real stuff that contradicts the stuff that they're using.
Yeah, how about Reggie Potter? Yeah, right. See,
right.
and this
right.
Yeah.
Well, and this is why we really got to study, right? Because if you really do some analysis, what you will find is that, and I'm trying to find it even as I'm speaking, but there is case law that here it is. It says a treaty can totally annihilate any part of the constitutional laws of any of the individuals contrary to the treaty. Now, I haven't yet. I haven't really pulled up and analyzed this case law yet, but I know it to be absolutely true. And the reason I can say that is because Barack Obama put it out there that they're going to be following international law. And I think we did a broadcast where we talked about it, and all the modern Europeans was in an uproar talking about that's unconstitutional and blah, blah, blah. You know what? You need to read the Constitution to find out that that's not unconstitutional, because the Constitution itself is an international document. But people don't get that because they don't comprehend exactly what international is and why the Constitution is international. And this is why you got some more, I want to be able to travel internationally. Well, if you're traveling on this ancestral estate, you're traveling internationally already. International is not distant, far away. It's right here. So, yeah, these people, they were in there quoting their, what they want to call precedent. But like I said, all of this case law that they were quoting means nothing, because they're talking about a corporation, and I am talking about bloodline. And it's, like I said, it's a matter of record. Congressionally, all right, that we Moors, we were here. We was here long before the modern Europeans came along. In fact, we recognized them. We bankrolled them. We gave them a place to come and lay their head. That is a matter of public record, and every July they celebrate it. So don't tell me about your modern-day precedent. Just because you got a few Moors running around doing things that they ain't got no business doing because of lack of information.
But again,
yes, indeed.
it is a lot to have to look at. But it's interesting, right, as we already have said, and we'll say again. Think about it. They'll pull out this incorporation where some fool, or I shouldn't say fool, where somebody incorporated the Moorish nation. They won't pull out res judicata laws that already exist, right? But they will pull out this that someone has established and start reading it off. But the one thing is that it's good that you had a heads up about that before you went in, so that you were aware, not to fall into that trap. Because it would have surprised me. It would have surprised anybody to say, "What? Moorish Nation Incorporated? What the heavens?" And so now they're going to use that against all Moors and those who don't know that was an error and in error, and put them put themselves right into the jurisdiction, because all of this is really about it's about status, which sets the stage for matters of jurisdiction, status and jurisdiction. And quite frankly, these people do not want to. They want to gain and have jurisdiction at all costs. You know, that's what they want to do, and they play games to do it, and they don't. You know, and it's funny to me that it's so obvious. Like you mentioned, the Constitution being an international document, being a divine document, actually, and they're saying, well, we don't go by the Constitution. Like they'll say things like, well, no, you don't. What did you say? You don't get a trial because you don't qualify for a trial because this is a traffic court. I mean, how can we allow that to? How does that even happen? You know what I mean? But they're going to give you. But they'll say, well, we're going to take you to trial. That's not what the Constitution says, and that's not what a trial is. That's not what it is about. But they have gotten away with it for so long. And what we need to know is what is the remedy. You know, we know what the remedy is. It's for everybody. The remedy will end up being just as the prophet said it would be, a breakfast fight. It's over by breakfast. Everybody would really get this and understand it in its simplistic form. It would be over, which is why we thought we were doing. Well, we do, and still do things. But that's what the information sharing is about. But you know, someone, I think, Anna, you keyed it when you said out of fear and out of please leave me alone, I'm going to go incorporate myself, my own self, but not under you, but yet guaranteed they went to a state to incorporate it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's ludicrous, you know. But,
right.
Yeah, fortunate. So, there was a few other things you wanted to bring to the table also surrounding the same misconcept of what nationality is. It's not, you know, it's to be done in an intelligent tone. So from that respect, it's like it's not a fight. Like the other thing is because I had gotten an email and the person is saying, okay, I got my ID and I got my paperwork, and, you know, what do I do to make them recognize it? So we want to reiterate again that a lawful notice is not for anybody to recognize. It's already been recognized. That is for you to proclaim your position and then start being who you say you are. What is this about wanting to be recognized? Like, do they really think that they're going to say, you know, oh yeah, we know you're a Moor, we're going to step aside or whatever? I mean, if that were the case, they wouldn't be saying things like, well, we're not going to follow the Constitution because this is a traffic court. I mean, and which is the reason why we need to get out of trafficking with them. That is the main reason why, because I'm not doing trafficking. I'm not, you know, I'm not doing commerce, which is what traffic is for. So thanks for clearing that up, that this is a traffic court, but I wasn't involved in trafficking. You know what I mean? So thank you very much. I mean, that's how we need to look at that. But it's almost the same, you know, to say that, you know, to say, oh, well, we're not going to follow the Constitution. They don't have the only reason that they've been able to do this is because they have grown in their corporation by the deceit and trickery of people believing in their minds that they are their government. And it's about membership/citizenship into their corporation when you do not make the distinction that you are in fact not a resident of them, not a in or a member of any quasi-national domicile. It's about that because the case law says that the people of the United States who are resident within any state are subject to two governments, and one is state and the other is national. So don't say that there's no national government. That's not true, because it says it right there. But it also says in this case law, but there is no need for conflict between the two. So there's proof right there that it is to be recognized, not only right there, but in the Constitution itself. It tells you what states can and cannot do. So when they say that we're not doing that, it's like, well, who are we dealing with? Now, the reason why this corporation that they are has grown so large is because they have security, or what we call private security guards, which people call police, which are policy enforcers, who people have thought was the government for so long and have enhanced them and basically fattened them up, if you will, by believing that you are really a part of that family when you're not. And it's just that simple. And now you want to put them in a situation where they're not going to be as fat as they used to be, because you're not a member of their corporation, because that's really how you have to look at it, because that's exactly what it is. Islam.
Just with regard to us being a nation, and again, like we were talking about in class earlier today, Moors recognizing their stuff. Forget other people recognizing you. How will you recognize your own stuff? Right? This is from the above article is copied from the Moorish Guide National Edition, Volume 1, Number 7, dated Friday, October 26, 1928. The first annual convention of the Moorish Science Temple of America was without a doubt the greatest success of any convention that has been held in Chicago in many a day. There were delegates from 15 different states. All came as was expected by the Prophet, although many of the temples did not represent according to the numerical strength of them. The program, as was dictated by the Prophet, was followed in detail, and everything went as expected. The opening of the session was the registration of the delegates and visitors at the general headquarters, 3140 Indiana Avenue. There were more than 3,000 delegates and visitors from out of the city. The main auditorium of the temple was crowded to its capacity every night. The day sessions were given over largely to the business of the different temples. The Moroccan costumes worn by the members of the Moorish Science Temple was a very different but striking scene during the convention, and made everyone that the Prophet had introduced a new feature in the apparel of the organization. For all those suit and tie Moors, Noble Ali wore that. Well, at the convention, he introduced a new apparel of the organization, and the new apparel was dressing in Moroccan costumes, letting you know that you're a nation. You don't have to pretend anymore. Be down with them. Wear their suit. You wear your own stuff. Feature in the apparel of the organization that distinguish it to the public as nothing else could. Right?
Yeah.
On Tuesday night was held the formal opening with many prominent speakers, among whom were, make sure you write these down so you can double check, you know what I mean, to know where the Moorish movement was, the Moorish nation was before incorporation. So you can understand why these people are going to try and incorporate it, because of really what it's about, really what is being held in these chambers called Moorish nation. Prominent speakers, among whom were Alderman Lewis B. Anderson, who delivered the welcome address to the delegates and visitors, Dr. C. V. Roman of the Meharry Medical College, Nashville, Tennessee, was a pleasant surprise speaker who was in the city in the interest of the congressional campaign of Oscar DePriest. Honorable Daniel M. Jackson was absent because of business with the government at Springfield, Illinois, but was represented by attorney Aaron Payne, who delivered a very forceful address touching on many things of interest to the Moorish Americans. Notwithstanding the fact, Honorable Oscar DePriest, as well as Alderman Anderson, was very busy with the campaign. They took time to stay throughout the meeting. And the closing address was delivered by Honorable Oscar DePriest. He outlined very simply, but forcefully, the matters involved in the congressional campaign of the first Asiatic congressman who has entered the halls of Congress for more than a quarter of a century. He reminded the audience that 28 years ago, Honorable George F. White, in his last address to that lawmaking body, told them that his leave will be only temporary and that it would be only a matter of time that he would return in the person of one of his brothers. Now, in the course of political events, the time presents itself for the return of that honorable man in the person of Honorable Oscar DePriest. Honorable George Blackwell, state representative and a strong member of the temple, explained the economic situation as it relates to the Moorish Americans. His was a very interesting address. The meeting was extremely enthusiastic. It could be easily seen that the Moorish Americans caught the spirit of the speaker and demonstrated it very dramatically. During the course of the speaker's talk, the Prophet took the occasion to bless his efforts in his great undertaking, all of which was very proper and fitting. Honorable Oscar DePriest thanked him and said, "I feel that with the help of the Moorish Americans in this city, that I have won." And remember, he won.
Mhm. And I looked up Oscar. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's all right. The opening meeting was the example setter for all other meetings that followed. The enthusiasm with which the convention opened carried on throughout the week. Richard H. Ross Bey was master of ceremonies. Moorish parade. On Wednesday at 2 o'clock, more than 3,000 Moorish Americans in Moroccan costumes and each carrying a flag of the nation of their forefathers, which is the Moorish flag and the American flag on their right.
Support allegiance to the flag and to the republic for which it stands. Go ahead, yeah.
Assembled at 37th and Federal Street, where they have purchased a temple site, and there, after having a group picture made which was very colorful, formed for the parade. The Prophet, in securing a permit for the parade, also secured a squad of European police to accompany his car in the parade. The line of march was from 37th and Federal Streets, east to Wabash and north on Wabash to 32nd Street, then to the temple at 3140 Indiana Avenue. It was one of the most beautiful parades that had been held in Chicago for a number of years, stated by all the leading newspapers of the city. This parade did much to inform who were not acquainted with the movement as to the aims and purposes of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Many citizens had never seen so many Moorish Americans dressed in Moroccan costumes, therefore voiced their hearty approval. The convention was an entire success from all angles. Many people visiting took the occasion to investigate and join. The aim of the Moorish Science Temple of America is to promulgate the Mohammedan religion and give all the Moorish Americans their national free name. In the course of time, this movement will become of national scope because already there are temples in 15 different states.
All right. Wow. Now, wait a minute. Are you finished reading that? I just wanted to add something.
Yeah, I'm finished.
Just to show, I know what you're saying, and I know what's being said there. And I just happened to go and look up, I saw something on Oscar the priest, definitely enforcing the Constitution. But here's a way to study and see where it doesn't mix. And then what you just read, Cujo, then you read this and you see what the prophet was saying and what was being done, The first line of this biography that when I pulled up this one thing off of the internet and show the contradiction in here. It says Oscar the Priest was the first African American elected to Congress in the 20th century, ending a 28-year absence of, they use black representatives. No, they said the first African American, which we know is a tag, and what's interesting is they said ending a 28-year absence. So what are they saying? That before him, there was, quote unquote, African Americans or black, whichever word they're going to use, which means really Moors, in the Congress already. That's what that one line tells you, right?
Yep.
Doesn't it tell you that? But see, we'll read this stuff and don't really read this stuff. And then you look at what year was he elected? 1928. And it says that it ended a 28-year absence, so that somebody was in there in 1900s or before the 1900s. That's how you have to read that. But you also have to look at the tags that they're giving him. They're calling him an African American, and then they go straight into the same line saying black, absence of a 28-year black presence. Right here, it says, so how can he be first? You see what I'm saying? He's first under that tag that they gave of African Americans. But then, they weren't calling you African Americans back then in 28.
Right. What? Excuse me. Just for the record, what year was that again, Cujo?
28.
28. October 26, 28.
Well, 26. But he was he began his election in 28. Yes. And according to this, it says he's the first African American elected to Congress in the 20th century, but it ends a 28-year absence of black people. So what are you saying?
And one more thing to put out there, so people don't get caught up. Keep in mind that we're talking about Republican form of government at this time.
Yes.
Right. That's why Moors were voting. That's why congressmen and all that were coming to the temple and senators or whoever were members, because they were Republican. Not from the party perspective, from the form of government perspective.
Yes.
They were Republican. And like we said, Oscar the Priest is a known constitutionalist.
Yes.
Quote unquote black constitutionalist. Like, he's known to be like that. It's not just something that because Moors say Constitution, we're trying to bring Oscar the Priest in. They got pictures with him and Noble Drew Ali. So it's not a fiction. We got convention records that Oscar the Priest was there and that he told the Moors that with their help he's going to win. And he won. So how do you think he won?
Right.
How do you think he became the first African-American congressman or whatever? Because Moors voted for him. That's why.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And keep in mind that African American wasn't around in 1928.
Right.
That came from Jesse Jackson, and he wasn't around in 1928 for sure. So there's no way that he was, quote unquote, African American. And technically he could be black because he was quite fair.
Yeah, he was.
Mm-hmm. So we'll give him the pass on black because technically he was pale. That's why he even got the pass so far in Congress. Because everybody thought he was European his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
He got the pass. No different than Wormley, who infiltrated UNIA. He was Asiatic, but he didn't look Asiatic.
Right. Yeah, he was very fair. But he definitely was a constitutionalist and dealing with the Republican form. And that's what, I mean, everything you said, that is why he's noted. And that convention, really, you're reading off some of the delegates or representatives of some of the states, under the Republic form of government.
Right.
Right.
Which is a big difference to Moors who you hear today till you get licenses. And Noble Drew Ali said, get your marriage certificate and from City Hall and all that stuff. That what aren't you getting that during Noble Drew Ali's time it was a republic and this time is a democracy?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the only republic is what the Moors really exercise.
Yes.
De jure. Because the Europeans can't even claim republic right now because they abandoned ship. There ain't no Europeans coming back to rep any republic. They're going to stand on it because they know that that's the foundation of their stuff. Their orders from that same constitution is that republic. You're not supposed to be showing honor to no banner and stuff like that. It's supposed to be republic.
With that said, pardon me for interjecting this, or just mentioning this, right? Because a lot of people, they're like, oh, there's all of these people with major influence, and they don't do nothing with it. There's a quarterback. There's the NFL, the National Football League. Some of you may be aware of this situation already, but it's relatively recent. Okay, the quarterback's name is Colin. I know his last name is Kaepernick, and he plays for the San Francisco 49ers. And they have the preseason of what they call the NFL. And you know how they do the national anthem and things like that? Well, basically, when people stand up, he remained seated. He chose to sit down because he said he wouldn't honor the banner when it's continuously oppressing our people and no repercussions are going on about it. Now, this is a quarterback for the NFL. Check it out. The number he wears is 7. Playing for the San Francisco Franciscan Brotherhood 49ers. We know that that's science in that, all right? San Francisco 49ers. And he said, nah, I'm not honoring this banner. I'm not standing up for it. I'm not observing it. National anthem, y'all could keep that because it's hypocrisy at this point. I wanted to mention that in light of what you were saying about, acknowledging this banner. In these days and times, everybody on different platforms are waking up and making a stand, even if they're not using words. They're doing it through actions or lack thereof. And basically, you may already know, but a bunch of, ignorant people tried to drag him for not honoring this banner, of which they do commerce under, of which the products of their commerce, they're looking at the people as a part of their trade industry. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to put that out there, and, you know, if anybody wanted to comment on that, what's your thoughts? Why a quarterback with the number 7? All right, we was talking about the 7 earlier on the San Francisco 49ers, correlating with the Franciscan Brotherhood and things of that nature. Overthrew the Moors. That's saying a lot to me. You know, to not acknowledge that banner in that position says a lot. So for now, I yield the floor. Islam.
That's, yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Islam, it's 11:06, and we've got like an hour and a half left to this broadcast. We have 30 minutes left to the live internet feed. What I'd like to do now is open up the phone lines and take callers. So if you have a question, comment, concern, press 1 on your telephone dial, and you'll be placed in the queue. We will take the callers in the order that they appear. So caller 321-280, you're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maximum. Caller 321-280. All right, let's move on. Caller 412-969, you're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maximum.
Islam family, this is Energy Hill calling out from Northwestern Maximum. Grateful I was able to get on the call tonight.
Peace and love.
I appreciate the class tonight and great topics being discussed. I'd just like to share my experiences so far out here being active on the highways and byways, talking to all the people that I can get my hands on, come across, being a merchant out here, doing my ancient, cultural ways of displaying my wares and giving me the opportunity to talk to the passerbyers and, possible clients and things. I appreciate that. I haven't been really getting any kind of backlash. Most of the people are stopping, listening, having questions and stuff like that. So I'm not really getting the negative sides of, but let me take that back. When, some of us Moors, our elder Moors, they try to argue you down and throw that I'm the child of God thing at you and all that kind of weird stuff. But I just feel good enough. Well, I feel good at the fact that I just at least shared with them, you have a nationality, and it's important that you claim it, not just for yourself but for the nation. Recent, when you were speaking on the canceling your affidavits out once you have put in writing who you are, because the declaration and, declaring it is just being clear within yourself. And if a person is not there yet, I don't really think you should be trying to get paperwork done, because you're not understanding and understanding and overstanding what it is that you're doing. You were speaking on school, going to do the whole online school thing, because I don't wish to send them into those buildings, especially knowing what's coming down the pike with the King Alfred plan, blah, 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 stuff like that. I just not wish to send them in one of those buildings which they lock the door and you can't get in unless they buzz you in. Nah, that's too much like a prison to me. And then there was just other things that they experienced last year in the public school system, so I wasn't trying to be bothered with that. And I was going to do the online K through whatever. And when I got to filling out the little online app, no, you're taking me way too far out of my comfort zone as far as jurisdiction goes. The kind of questions that you're asking, and then it came all the way down to what documents that they will accept. And I was like, you know what, cancel the whole process. I sat down at the computer, pulled up a blank piece of paper, put our nation seal on it, and just put in my own affidavit. I'm educating my children at home and send that out. It's just that simple. I don't need to use your services. I didn't put all that in. I just let it be known, look, these two are going to be educated in home. by myself and other members of my nation. You don't need to know all the rest. You know, the way I see it, you don't need all that. You know, but if they was to come and question me on it, I'm quite clear on what it is I'm doing. I don't need their permission and none of that. But my biggest thing is this, as I'm watching this thing go down. Europeans are not the issue. They're really not the issue. They're a distraction. And I'm making the video right now as we speak. They're just a distraction. The issue is us dirty Moors and us active Moors. That's just the bottom line. We are family feuding, and this feud must have been going on for quite some time. Because there's no way that a brown person today does not know that they're a Moor. You can tell that to somebody else. You didn't heard this somewhere, and for you to still stand up here talking about black power, and you still wonder why the European is in power? How are you going to use a modern-day term for an ancient people? That don't even make sense. Do some studying. Figure something out. I mean, come on, people, what are we doing here? So it's dirty Moors that we're fighting, period. Because I'm listening to the broadcast, and I'm like, are you serious? Somebody did what? Are you serious? Oh, my God. We are playing serious games with the children's lives, with our own lives, and I just don't get it. I really don't get it. You know, but those was my points. That's what I wish to share. Again, appreciate the class, and I appreciate being able to get on. I'm not going to hold it up. But, yeah, finish my little video as I listen to the rest of the call.
It's long.
No, it's just the energy.
You know, there's something she said that is I mean, what she said is right and exact. But, and we think about this as well. When she said that if you don't really know, you don't need to be signing any papers or whatever. And then in the same, some people may say go for identification. But, you know, you are who you are regardless. And that's been like something that we really think about. And I almost understand why some people want to keep it in and it can't be done anymore. Keep it private or on a club-like atmosphere is what I'm going to call it, for the lack of a better word. But the real issue is just like what she's speaking on, is that we absolutely need to have our institutions of learning, because one of the key things that's missing for us to really get this concept of nationality and who we are, et cetera, and law and civics is not knowing the history. Because knowing the history would automatically put us in that situation. But it doesn't deny the fact that we are, in fact, Moors. However, it does create the situation, as we spoke of, opening up this show, or this broadcast, where some people will obtain a car, an identification card. They will obtain nationality papers, and then they'll turn right around and they'll use the card or something to make a birth certificate redemption process, or they'll make an affidavit that absolutely cancels out, as Annie said earlier, cancels out the proclamation that you just said you were. And then they don't even realize that is what they have done, you know, and so that's the lack of knowing, you know, period. So it's like, where do you go? It starts with, you know, you don't know do we start with the children? And I think the Prophet already realized, yes, get it into the children at all costs. So that means it has to start with the mothers of the children to allow that to even happen. So it's just this cleansing that's going on right now, because conversely, people will get identification cards and or other documents or whatever from some foreign corporation and never ask half the questions that they ask or that they try to demand, or nor would they go out and do the things with it, you know, that they attempt to do with something that is absolutely allodial. You know, like I had put up on the site when they were talking about sovereignty packs. I mean, because you have a ID, a student ID, or a library card that you would have gotten from anywhere else, you wouldn't call that a sovereignty factor. So it's so much that, I mean, it just goes back to study. That's it. Study. Show yourself approved. It's not. Next caller.
Islam. All right, our next caller is Brother Bakari. Islam, Brother Bakari.
Greetings. Islam. I just wanted to ask a question, and before I ask the question, first of all, honor to the panel. Thank you for again doing what you do so consistently on a regular basis. Before I ask the question, I just wanted to give honors and show respect for the mother who just called in with that excellent point, because since I've taken it upon myself to proclaim and declare my nationality, I have spoken to many Moors. I had many conversations, and there's a lot of different camp-type mentality, not focusing on the things that we all have in common, rather focusing on what is different. And subsequent to that, there are many Moors who only deem it courageous to act when somebody gets killed. They don't act courageously all the time, because there are many different ways in which you can be courageous. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do certain things to protect, life and limb, and but there are many times when you can do something courageous that supports the nation as a whole, the republic as a whole. Many types of activities, some of which were outlined in the letter that Cujo read, having these conventions, and everyone shows up wearing Moroccan garb or Moorish garb, or garb that we wore at one time. But at any rate, so my question, because I don't want to get into a long, drawn-out and just waste time and cut somebody else's off. I know there are many callers. My question to the panel is, what extent do you think other nations are responsible for causing, or rather not pressure, or do you even think that there is a existing situation where other nations are not putting pressure on this so-called government, the United States of America, to not recognize, but to uphold the certain treaties and international laws? Do you think that is something that collectively Moors can address, or
here? I just want you to clarify. Do you mean other nations and other places, or other nations in regards to what's happening here? Because if in regards to what's happening here, well, that's the whole point. If the people of which this is truly their ancestral estate, their national domicile, and if they're not going to, this is a great question, if they're not going to speak up for themselves in reference to that, then no one else can. No one else will do it. And it speaks to the problem of even people not taking responsibility and the obligation of saying, it's scary, because people from, say, other nations and nationalities who may come over here and who may, in fact, do business, they look at you like, dang, if you're not going to honor your mothers and fathers, see, they honor their mothers and fathers. They know what their nationality is. And they're looking at you, and I have this in the Denial of Ancestry Book 1, if they're looking at you like, gee, you're not going to honor your own mothers and fathers and exercise your own inalienable rights of birth, you're dangerous. So I'm not saying nothing to you. I'm going to put a glass between you and I, and a bulletproof glass, as a matter of fact. Really. And I'm going to sell you all the things, and necessities and commodities that you need. So that's their position. And it's rightfully so to a degree that if you're not going to protect your own, if you're not going, you know what I mean? Now, as far as other nations who are really looking at this and seeing it minus the propaganda, because they control communications here, most of the people here don't even really know what's going on right in their, around them. You know, there will be, and I think the prophet made a statement that your brothers from the east are going to come in a fist or whatever like that, but that's only going to be once you decide to stand up your damn self, because you can't fight for somebody else for something that only they can do for themselves. So that's how I see that in terms of my answer, Islam.
And to add on, not to promote violence, but you was mentioning, certain people being courageous only when somebody gets killed, and then we went into, why other nations aren't putting up the pressure. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it really real. When we look at other nations, what is it that they have that we don't? Even if they're not going around killing people, one thing that's factual is they have well-regulated militias. Do we? No. They produce. Do we? Okay. So my thing is this. It's not to be, let's get courageous and go all out because they're killing us. No, it's a constitutional right to have a well-regulated militia. People want to pick and choose which part of the Constitution they want to enforce. That's sloppy because, you know what I mean? Oh, well, we shouldn't have this, that, and the third. We're supposed to be peaceful. We can be peaceful with a well-regulated militia. It's a constitutional right. You don't see China just going around bombing on everybody just because they got a militia, a military. No. You know what I mean? That's national standards. Ain't nothing to do with let's go kill everybody. Nah. And that excuse is getting lame for, we don't need to, because we don't need to be hurting any. China is producing a lot of things that we consume. All right? So they're into production. They're into exchange. They're into well-regulated militias. They're into martial arts. Why? Because they have a certain means of protecting and defending themselves, which when it comes to us, we make the excuse, we're not supposed to be about that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, we're shooting each other down. We're letting ourselves get shot down. You know what I'm saying? It's so talking about the courage of it, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be just because people are getting, and specifically by other nations at that. Let's keep that in mind as well. That's really mainstream right now as far as the news is concerned. The mainstream is, policy enforcers shooting down Moors. You know what I mean? Moors shooting down Moors. But when we're okay, well, let's put it all together, protect ourselves as a nation, it's a curse word. You're going to get us in trouble. We're not censoring the Constitution. The Constitution is explicit. So let's keep it real. You know what I mean? Where's the courage for that at? We ain't got to be violent. It's just certain things you should know. There's certain martial arts masters who can kill you in less than 3 seconds with their bare hands, but they don't do that because they don't have to. But they can if they need to. And that's all I'm saying is that's something we should be into, if we need to. And it's not to be the aggressor. It's not to be any of these things. You know what I mean? Yes. Porcupines, they don't go around looking to hurt people, but they're armed. If anything tries to attack them, it'll be their last breath. If they try to eat a porcupine, why? Because self-defense is built into it. So you could have the meanest lion, you know what I mean? If it tries to eat that porcupine, it kills itself because there's protection built in.
Yeah.
No protection, your food. That's it. It's just a simple discussion. That's just the bottom line. So, you know, that's all I'm saying. I don't ever want to be misconstrued as, just saying, oh, we should go in because they are like, nah, this is parts. We're suffering from aspects of not enforcing the Constitution. And a lot of times people think enforcing the Constitution means you got to walk into a courtroom to do it. That's not the case. That is not the case at all. You can enforce the Constitution without ever stepping a foot into a courtroom. And I'm not talking about if they sent you a date. That's courage. That's where it's at. So, that's my piece on the subject. Islam.
I would like to just say something here real quick. And Eid, I'll keep it short. I asked that question because of a conversation that I had yesterday. Someone asked me a question, and they asked this question about Moors and, why is it that one of the things that they ask is that they, Bukhari, why is it that there's so many different types of Moors out there? I mean, that's literally how they ask it, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit. And so, in light of that question, I thought it would be a good idea to throw that out to the panel, because I want to make it clear, I'm not saying that I need to have any authority given by a foreign nation to act. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that along the lines of what the sister said when she called in, is that it seems like quite often that a lot of the things that slow us down as Moors, as a nation, that share the same bloodline, that have the same political interests, or should have the same political interest, is that we don't act upon certain things in the same fashion as other nations do, you see. And so that holds us back. So many different groups, and they won't come together. Like you can have Moors that call for certain get-togethers, and there's only like a small faction that show up. And then when we do get together, there doesn't seem to be any recognition of ways in which to collectively, in a civil, as part of a civil process, collectively, there doesn't seem to be the recognition for protocols on dealing with certain issues. How do you deal with individuals who are clearly acting against the nation as a whole, whether it is taking some sort of action by writing some document or stating something, or individuals who causes disruptions? So collectively, you have all these different groups, and we can't seem, as a whole. I mean, like, there are a lot of Moors who are, together, but I'm just saying, based on my experience, from many conversations that I've had, that seems to be something that is sorely lacking in terms of internal protocols that we collectively should be readily and simply able to address that, okay, these are some common issues, and with the guidance of some of our elders, these are some policies, if you will, and procedures that we can implement to address some of these situations that many of us are running into, that would minimize, some of the, on the one hand, that would minimize some of the difficulties that we experience, and on another front, allow us to mobilize the strength of numbers, whether it is in simply getting together and having a ball, and then doing something, out of that, or putting your appellation on a class action lawsuit, because there seems to be quite a bit of Moors who are ready to do certain things, but try to get them to put their, sign a class action suit, that's like asking them to, jump off a cliff. I got to look into that. I got to research that, like I got to think on that, bruh. But let me get back at you. So I yield the floor. Islam.
I don't know how to answer that. I don't know. The guy, he said that the guy used the terminology of so many different kinds of Moors. We're only one family. We're one free national appellation. We just, it's just so many people out there with anxious ways to try to live and be as who they are, and unity doesn't seem to exist only because they, like what we talked about earlier, they're thinking this is about corporations. Their mind, the mental slavery, they're still in that. And then they have these other people who are infiltrating, and they really, some of them aren't like paid agents or anything. They're just agents because the word agent means against something, and they don't even realize it. And because of ego, sometimes when they do realize it, I don't think they're going to ever admit it. So, it becomes one of those things. I mean, that's my take. I don't know. What is your opinion on that, Anna E? Because it's something that we talk about all the time, kind of, sort of.
Well, my opinion is, this is just my thinking. There's no way anybody can police anyone, and really, I don't see that there is a need for that, because the boomerang that one person sends out is going to come back to them. This is just my opinion. I don't think, short of physical injury, these, just like, in the story of Moses, right? They had a lot of bad seeds when they started out on that walk. But at the end of their 40-year sojourn, all right, all the bad seeds were gone.
Cleansing.
That's universal law. We don't have, the prop to, I just constantly think about the principles of universal law and the things that the prophet did, as well as the information that he left. Before he left, he knew everybody that was working against him, and he was the hub of the foundation. So he could have, convened what do you call it? Consular court. Came in and had everybody, listen to the evidence and make a decision and put things in motion. But I'm not aware that he ever did that, because he understood that the universal law was going to take care of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you do good or whether you do not so good, the universe is going to pay you back word for word, action for action.
Well, what do you think of the other part of this question about class action suit? Now, I definitely want to know your opinion on that. I'm kind of thinking that who would do that and who would agree, because we have seen, and I know you have seen that in many writs, and the language in them are incorrect. So the problem I would see just off the top is that until they accept the proper jurisdiction, which means proper words, there will probably be a problem in doing a class action suit from that perspective of actually being other people being conscious of what's being done. I mean that's what I would see, but I don't know. What's your take on a class action suit? Like, really?
Well, in my opinion, well, here's the thing. What are we going to have a class action suit on?
I knew you was going to go there. It's already done.
What? Right, exactly. What law, what liberty, or rather, what liberty has what protection of what liberty has not already been addressed?
It's bingo. Bingo, because it's res judicata. It's already there. Like, people look for precedent. Oh, yeah, Moors need precedents. No, it's already done. It's res judicata. What we have to face then is, so class action suit or a charge against who? So now someone has to do injury to you in order for you to put a charge against them. And yes, they're doing injury everywhere, and but it's kind of crazy because it's like, well, what are they complaining about? The law is the law. You got people in the secret corner, in secret meeting rooms, violating you day by every day. You walk out your door, a municipal policy enforcer comes and it stalks and harass you. You know what I'm saying? So, like, is that really a class action suit, or should we be identifying who it is that injured us against what already exists? Is that what you're saying, basically?
Right. And because I thought about a class action suit, and when I look at it in terms, because we're dealing with corporations. That's it. All right, let me rephrase. We're dealing with employees of a corporation. So, to me, the corporation is liable, but you can't sue a corporation because a corporation is a fiction.
Right.
Who is it that's acting out, or who is acting, I should say, on behalf of the corporation? And, where is their delegation of authority? And look, when the Internal Revenue Service was getting hammered, right, they called the CEO to answer for the actions of everybody who works there. So not only do we have to look at the person that is literally violating your liberty, but you also have to include their boss, right up to the CEO, because they are obligated to know and act accordingly. And it doesn't matter if you don't know, and that's what the commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service found out. He was sitting there talking about, I don't know. And I think if he hadn't resigned, he would have been fired. Because he's obligated. Now, what that means is, and I have seen this work. If you do a class action suit, that's one lawsuit. But if you have 50, not even 50 people do a lawsuit, that's 50 lawsuits.
And I think in terms of impact, to me, if you have 50 impacting lawsuits, corporations cease to exist.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if we can get just like maybe 10 people to learn the ins and outs of submitting a lawsuit, and then those 10 people teach it to 10 people, and then those 20 people teach it to 20 people, and then those 40 people teach it to 40 people, and then those 80 people teach it to 160. That's exponential growth. This is exactly what the prophet was talking about. Unfortunately, we have people who have information and will only give it or teach it if they are financially compensated. And there's nothing wrong with being financially compensated, but the amount that is being asked, nobody can afford it, which means that everybody stays a slave, so to speak, because nobody can afford it. So what's the point of that? I look at this like, if we could free ourselves from these corporations, then guess what? Federal Reserve notes become irrelevant.
I agree. I just wanted to quickly respond to that. I'm not perhaps another way to make this statement would be other ways to show solidarity. For instance, even if one did not want to go the route of actually sending in an affidavit with numerous signatures of Moorish nationals on a particular issue, as an example, right to travel, brutality, or some other right that has been trampled upon the Aboriginal and Indigenous people of this nation. Some other way in which those signatures could, be put together in a manner that shows solidarity and an ongoing solidarity. And not only in that fashion, but the mere fact that you have individuals all waving the same flag, coming together to address an evil, whether it's right to travel, whether it's GMOs, and or whether it's corporations that are exercising rights that they don't have lawfully, or abridging the rights of people. Whether it's something that deals with how the environment is being abused. I think that those types of activities, and again, not just looking for fiat, That's not something that, I'm concerned about. I think that is something that would go a long way, not only nationally but internationally. And I don't think that is something that, necessarily requires that that you have to have like millions and millions of people, all doing the exact same thing at the exact same time, because other nations have displayed it. So there is a precedent where other nations have gotten together, and even if it's not a lawsuit, have gotten together, with specific, like corporate fraud, like take Iceland, for instance, the Icelanders. And I know that they don't have the exact same history that Moors in northwestern Mexico have, but that's another example when individuals got together, all flying the same flag, and said, you know what, we are tired of this. let's move on this issue. But before they got in the street, before they got behind microphones, individuals were able to put aside petty differences from their respective jurisdictions and were able to focus on the major issues that are causing serious injury to the people as a whole. That's the type of stuff that I'm talking about. Islam.
Well, I can tell you that I have at least 3 or 4 cases that was brought before the World Court where we had Mexico, Paraguay, Germany, and I think another one, I can't remember the fourth one. They all brought evidence that the members of the United States of America violated certain treaty agreements that they have and was injuring their nationals. Now, and I said this, I think, on a prior recording. The reason that they were able to take this into the World Court is because they had, at least 50 cases, documented cases, that they can bring evidence proving that these nationals had been violated by foreigners on their own land, by the way. Now, challenge that we as a nation have, and let's just reserve it for right to travel, all right? We don't have enough, Moors who has put together an effective cause of action regarding their liberty as it relates to your right to travel, much less brought it into any type of state or federal court. We don't have, you cannot bring anything, because look, you can't bring anything into something like a world court unless you have documented, verifiable, hard copy evidence. Challenge with the Moors here across the board is nothing. We're violated on a daily, hourly, secondly minute of every day. And there's no documentation of this. None. Because we were not taught to write. Literally, we were mentally conditioned, and one of the mental conditions was that we don't like to write, we don't like to read, we don't like to study, we don't like to research, and we don't follow through. And this is why nobody outside of this continent knows what is going on with the Moors here. Nobody knows that our right to travel has been arrested. Only just finding out about a handful of people that's murdered on the street. It ain't just start happening. It's been happening. There's a murder going on by a foreign modern European against a conscious or unconscious Moor right now. Everybody is paying for the natural resources of our ancestral state. Nobody knows this. This is the land of the free, and the Aboriginal indigenous people are not free. You got people living on the street while there's empty buildings all around. Nobody knows this. It's not documented. Everybody wants to be a hero, but nobody wants to sit down and document just what's going on with you. If we could just sit down and document what's going on with us and then round it up, maybe we could put in a world suit. But everybody wants to be a hero, but nobody wants to document how they are in. The prophet said, I gave you enough to save the nation, now save yourself. How are we going to do that? The way our ancestors did it. Because our ancestors, they brought civil war. That's writing. That wasn't physical fighting. They brought civil war against these modern Europeans to keep them out or in their place. That was done in writing.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody is documenting how their liberties on a daily basis is being violated, daily, by foreigners.
Mm-hmm.
We can't step forward until we first document what is happening with a significant amount of us. We don't need 1,000. We don't need hundreds. Hell, we don't even need 50. I can't even get 5. With fingers left over. I've been asking people to send in cause of action for 2-3 years. I ain't got one yet.
I got 2 of them. I got one for child support. I got one for child support, and I got one for a right to travel.
But here's the thing. What is our biggest challenge? What is our biggest challenge? Our ability to travel to and fro. That is a constitutionally guaranteed, protected liberty. It was in the Articles of Confederation. It's embodied in the American Constitution. It's classified under liberty. If people would go and look up the definition of liberty, really study liberty, because it's broad, you would find out that your liberties have been arrested and you didn't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
All your liberties, not just one, all of them. If you can't eat, provide basic necessities of life, you cannot travel, you cannot engage in some activity that's going to give you some sort of compensation. If you can't breathe fresh air, if you can't drink clean water, if you don't have no food to eat, your liberties have been arrested.
That's right. That's right.
Corporations are not supposed to be running the show. That's why the American Constitution was written. Because in 1774, corporations was running carte blanche across the nation, imprisoning their people and some of ours. Today, corporations are imprisoning almost all of the people, and even some of ours is participating in that. And the sad thing about it is some of our own is participating in that, and they are not even exempt from the violation of their liberty. That's some mental conditioning. You getting raped and you raping the people on behalf of the people who's raping you. That's some mental conditioning.
And you know what, I'm glad you mentioned that that's mental conditioning, because as you were speaking, I was thinking, I'm like, why is it like that? Do you think subconsciously that goes back to Moors actually being producers? Like we was talking about China having their own militia, how they produce a lot of things that, you know, people in the North Gate consume. And the reason I asked, do you think that has some sort of subconscious effect, is because as far as corporations running things, it's like a lot of people don't produce. So they look at companies or corporations. They work for a corporation. They don't work, no food is on their table. So they automatically elevate the status of corporations as a source of people being fed. Do you think that going back to being independent and producers will help, you know, break those shackles of...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because, and you know, it's crazy because you got to look at this craziness that has been in motion for some time. And a lot of people, this whole planet, it ain't just North and West of Mexico. The whole planet, this whole planet is on the brink of collapse. I don't mean it's going to disappear. I mean it's on the brink of collapse
because these modern Europeans, in their greed, they have destabilized the whole planet.
Mm-hmm.
And when you destabilize it long enough, it will break. It will crumble. It will dip. That's how we got the wobble. That was our fault. But today, what's happening is, on this continent, we were self-sufficient. Where's our crops today? We was able to sustain ourselves on the things that grew naturally and the things that we grew. We knew that in certain places, if we grew something, it would grow every year. We wouldn't have to put nothing because the way it works is they have seeds inside. Certain plants blossom. Seeds are going to they're going to come out and they're going to fall around and they're going to sprout, and you're going to have a whole new crop. And you didn't dig up the earth at all, you know. But what these modern Europeans did is they made it so on this continent we don't have a lot of crops anymore. My father went to Florida. He hadn't been to Florida in years. He came back and he said, "My God, all the orange groves are gone." People don't even get that. Florida was where the oranges grew, and that's where we got fresh oranges, and that's how we made orange juice. Now, if oranges is no longer growing in Florida, but they're in the grocery store, where they coming from? Maybe they're coming from Mexico. Maybe they're coming from Cuba, right? So now they got what was growing indigenously here growing in Mexico or Cuba or Venezuela. Now, what was growing indigenously in Mexico, Cuba, and Venezuela is no longer growing indigenously in those parts. Now maybe you got to go to China and get the stuff that was growing indigenously in Mexico, Venezuela, and Cuba. You see what I'm saying? They have transported plants and things that were growing indigenously all over the place. So now if I want oranges, I got to deal with Mexico. If Mexico wants pineapples, you know, they could be growing indigenously over in China. Now you got to figure out how you're going to cross the sea to get to China to get the stuff that was growing indigenously here over there. You know, the various spices we used to get, they're not indigenous here anymore. So everybody got to, if the transportation ends, everything is going to collapse. And guess what? They are setting it up for the transportation to end because no country wants to deal with the United States of America no more. That means that we're going to be isolated. We're not going to get no more imported stuff because what did the prophet say? Nobody's going to want to deal with the United States of America. So we're not going to be getting anything in, and they ain't taking nothing. Right now, nobody won't take nothing from the United States of America because these stupid, idiot modern Europeans genetically modified everything to the point where, and we all know this, you go to the grocery store, the fruits don't have seeds no more.
That's right. That's right.
Right? So now if the fruits don't have seeds, then you got to go back to the stupid idiot corporation that genetically mutated the plant to not produce seeds. And these seeds, they want to send over to other family outside of this continent. They're not taking it because they're saying, no, we don't want that crap. Because if that crap comes over our way, it's going to infect the good stuff we got growing over here now.
Yes, yeah. I actually read an article on that because those Monsanto Corporation did that. Yeah. And you know what? If we was truly a together nation, really, and you know what? This ain't even about being together as a nation. Everybody, Moors and modern Europeans, we got to get it together because we have the power to change.
Monsanto have their fingers in so many pies. How do you get a company like Monsanto out of the equation? Collectively boycott every single product that Monsanto has their hands in until they go out of business. Because Monsanto is one of the biggest corporations that's destabilizing planet Earth for profit. And it ain't affecting just Moors. It's affecting everybody. And we can start with companies like Monsanto, but there's all of these corporations is profiting off of the people. You know, we talk about going into the court and see them just herding the people through like cattle in court. But if you go to the grocery store, you see the same thing. If you go to the Department of Motor Vehicle, you see the same thing. If you go to the hospital, so-called hospital, you see the same thing. Everywhere you go, every single corporation is herding the people in like cattle, raping them left and right. And we don't wake up. If we don't wake up, then when that energy transition comes along, we're going to no longer be here. Because the only option is stay asleep and become fertilizer or wake up. Those are the only two options. But everybody's busy partying. Everybody's busy partying, you know, looking the other way. Like, if I don't look to the left, it'll never come. But it's coming. It's breathing down your neck right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is breathing down all our necks. I mean, these people, they're so corrupt that they're no longer interested in profiting off of the adults. They're going after the children, and still we're asleep.
That's a fact.
You got the mothers still waiting for the sons to, you know, be a man. You're the man. He can never be the man because you're the man. But he can assist you, but you have to step up and do what you got to do. Can't put everything on the son. And by the same token, can't put everything on mother. We are supposed to be operating as a team, and the one goal is to unite and uplift. Get this yoke off of us. That's it. Once we get the yoke off of us, we can go back to the petty squabble. But right now, we got to get this yoke off of us, because if we don't, ain't going to be too many of us here. We're still going to be here, but it ain't going to be too many of us. It's kind of long-winded, but we got some more callers. Who's your next call? Yeah.
And you know what? Real quick, before you go into the next call, I just want to make this short statement. If you look at the history of the Pilgrims, the modern Europeans coming here, going back to what you were saying about the food and producing these things, like out of all of the wars, out of all of the biological war and things like that, and versus, you know, physical gunfire warfare, like the thing that wiped us out, and we're still here, but wiped out a large majority of our people, more than gunfire, more than all of that, was the disease that they brought when they came. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a fact. You know what I mean? People couldn't even be around these people, you know, without dying. That's a real fact. The biological war is real. It is real. And I just wanted to add that on. Maybe we can go into that on another broadcast.
Well, you know what? Because initially my forte was health, diet, and immortality. And one of the things that I learned is that when we when these modern Europeans got over here, we had already compromised ourselves in terms of our body. And I say that because if we are functioning as we ought to be, meaning like, if our nutrient is 100% sun ray, nothing can bother us. But I know we moved away from that, for whatever reason, or for various reasons, I should say. And we started consuming stuff by our mouths as opposed to absorption through the skin. So we had to have digressed so far away from just absorption through the skin to the point where we were consuming things that wasn't natural for us. And because of that, it weakened our body chemistry, the natural pulsation of the various chakras that we have in our body. And it is because of, and once the chakras become unstable, you will be susceptible to any Eve that comes amongst you. And I think that is why many of us didn't survive, being the contamination of with these modern Europeans, because if you change your diet now to a great degree, and you go into the midst of an epidemic, you will not get sick. Can't happen. If you change your diet now, if you have a habit of getting a cold, allergies, flus and all if you change your diet, I can guarantee you will not get a cold, you will not get the flu, you will not have any allergies. And if any of those things do happen, it's because you ate something you shouldn't have.
Indeed.
Yeah, I can.
And that's just the way it is. So we functioned. Our energy level has plummeted. We are so not functioning on the same energy level that we used to, and it's like when you start looking at all the prophets that have come and gone, the one thing that they came to hold is the energy. They came to hold the energy because our energy was so low. We needed somebody to make the sacrifice and bring energy here and kind of sort of rev us up a little bit so that we can wake up. And so when you look at the way we were and the way we are, huge difference. Huge. That's why many of us perishing right now. And just to give you an example, I had to go through a training, and I learned two things. Mothers will know what I'm talking about. When the baby is born, they do this test called a PKU test. Roz, you remember that PKU test? And the PKU test is where they stick a needle in the baby's heel, and they fill a circle on a card with the little drops of blood that comes out of the baby's heel, and they send it to testing. Nobody ever told us that is to see how the body can absorb protein. How the body deals with protein. Now, for indigenous people, too much protein is a detriment to us. And immediately after the baby is born, they try to take the baby and off of breast milk. They try not to encourage you to breastfeed, because if you start giving the baby formula, in the formula is, massive doses of protein. So from the birth, they already breaking the body down. Now, over years, what will happen is people are developing, if you notice, people are developing, I never heard of Alzheimer's until like recently. Alzheimer's never even existed until recently. Did you know that Alzheimer's is a result of the consumption of too much protein? And when you consume too much protein, it creates plaque. The plaque gets into the brain and causes calcitration or plaque. You know, when thank you. It gets into the brain and it causes this concentration of plaque that results in Alzheimer's. What that also does is it causes much heart defect, because when your arteries start to harden, it's as a result of plaque. The teeth that we try so hard to preserve, they're falling out of us, and everybody's doing what the dentist said. Why? Too much protein. Our species don't do well with a lot of protein, especially protein from another species, because we got protein naturally from plants. Because our body chemistry, it don't even it can deal with 0.1% protein. You can get that from plants. But we eat. They say, oh, you need a lot of protein. You know, when you say you're a vegetarian, the first thing they say is, how are you getting your protein? I don't need it.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I don't need it because too much protein causes problems. I've been saying that for years, and I went to a training, and they told me.
Kidney problems.
So they confirmed it.
Kidney problems. And didn't we just get something from the Sister Janet that said that it also causes cataract?
Yes.
Yeah, and I know it causes kidney. I know that too much proteins can cause a kidney problem. Just can't process it.
Yes, you're right. Cataracts is also a direct result of too much protein. So look what's happening to us because we're consuming something that is not indigenous to our body type. Really. We're going blind, losing our mind. Look, because of the overconsumption of protein, we're going blind, we're losing our mind, we're losing our teeth. You know.
You got a rhyme on that one. You got that was almost a rhyme. We're going blind. We're losing our mind. We don't have no teeth. We don't know what to eat. You know.
The E got bars today. You and Cujo gonna have to do a song.
Yeah.
Featuring Cujo featuring on the E.
Look, but now look, every one of us, I know I did when I was in school. They taught you the food pyramid. Remember the food pyramid. The food pyramid is not for our body type.
That's right.
Right, I think they have milk on there, right? Didn't they have milk on it?
Yes, milk. Now
I knew that wasn't for
but now you gotta know the history of why milk is even on there. Milk isn't on there because milk it does a body good. Milk is on there because milk does the bottom line profits of the corporation good. That's why. Because milk was never something that was consumed until Mr. Kellogg made the cornflake and wanted to move it and paired it up with milk. And that's the only reason that you have cereal and milk. Look it up because they don't even try to hide this. They tell you. If you go and you read up on Mr. Kellogg, the history is right there. They don't even hide it. All right? And then and here's the crazy thing now. What other species on planet Earth
continues drinking milk after it's weaned, and what other species drinks the milk of another species?
None. Yeah, and you going in right now, we definitely going to have to do like a whole class dedicated on this subject. No, real talk, because I couldn't drink milk, or it never was for me, but I found out when I was about 14 or 15 that it was almost about to kill me. As a matter of fact, I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, but I kept getting all this mucus. And I'm like, yo, and this was going on. This went on for about a period of 2 months. It went on for a period of 2 months. And it wasn't until I went to eat the cereal again, and immediately my body just flushed, like, with all this mucus. And I was like, oh, it's this milk. You know what I mean? I was gasping for air in the front lawn of where we were staying at. That's how bad it got. And it was that day that I realized it's the milk, and I haven't drunk milk since then. You know what I mean? Going on 15 years. So I mean,
Exactly. Now let me just let everybody know why you have a problem with the mucus. So you have excess accumulation of mucus because the milk cow has large amounts of mucus, because that benefits the baby cow, not the human baby, but the cow baby. Their body is designed to take that and use it. Our body is not. And that's why, but now let me tell you the crazy thing. I don't know no Asiatic person, conscious or unconscious, who don't drink milk and have an allergic reaction, but they think it's not an allergic reaction because it's minor. It doesn't kill you right away. It's not that kind of an allergic reaction. But if you are Asiatic and you drink milk, you're probably going to have diarrhea, rumbling of the stomach, something, along those lines. Never fails.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, they know this, and today they got pills that they can give you to take so you can still drink the milk. Now, that's crazy.
Right, lactose intolerant stuff. Because I was going to say, some people sustain that ability to continue to drink milk and will live and die drinking milk. But what happens is they'll end up having medical problems and not figuring out why, because they may have processed it a little bit different. Now, Ms. Really, he would have been allergic to that milk because he was breastfed. So, his tolerance, once, like the age of these things, once a child starts getting into puberty or whatever like that, and their body changing and like that, it would reject certain things. So I think that came about. But when we were young, our age group, that was around the time when they were really trying to get women to stop breastfeeding, and they were using a lot of condensed or carnation milk mixed with water to the degree of what you wanted it to be, And then the cow's milk, which came later, and it was contaminated just like the cows were. So you had generations of cows.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people don't know this, and mothers, you do some research on this. Don't just take my word and run and go do it. But I read in a book that the next closest thing to breast milk, if you're going to substitute, believe it or not, is coconut milk.
Yeah.
And when you look at coconut milk, in my family, they use coconut for everything. Coconut is in everything. So growing up as a child, pre-blender, all right, pre-blender, we used to have to grate grate the coconut, and then put hot water and massage it to get the coconut milk out. It's a pretty blender now. We're going to have to go back to that, so don't be laughing about it. You better start getting into it now, because we're going to be going back to that for a minute. But if you do that one time, you will see, and mothers, y'all, if any mother who has breastfed, know that when you breastfeed, the milk for the breast milk looks very similar to coconut milk, pure coconut milk, not the stuff you're buying in the store.
That's right.
It was very similar. So when I read that, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But now if you tell the so-called pediatrician that, yeah, you're giving your baby coconut milk, they're going to be like, oh, well, how to get in their iron?
Mm-hmm.
You need the formula fortified with iron. And I know with my children, they could never tolerate that. Even when I tried to give them the formula, they couldn't tolerate it, because I don't care if you're a baby or an adult, too much iron, which is, or too much protein / iron, you will get stopped up. Things will not flow like they are supposed to. I don't know what's in these iron pills that they give you, but you will get constipated within 24 to 48 hours of starting to take iron pills. And let's not even talk about the protein. I mean, that's not when we need to, and, all of this conversation right here, really what it's saying is we need to be conscious of our body. Pay attention to what your body is saying. For example, I was going through this huge craving for okra. Now, I'm not an okra fan. I wasn't prior to starting to eat it, but I wasn't a huge okra fan. But I had this craving out of nowhere for okra, and I said, well, let me just follow it. And I started eating it. Tasted pretty good. And I think for one whole year, I was just on an okra kick. And so one day I said, well, let me go and check out what is the components of okra. And when I did the research, I found out, believe it or not, okra is very high in natural calcium. So now if I'm craving okra, that means that my body's got to be low in calcium. Same thing happened with bananas. My body was so low in potassium, I was eating bananas for breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack, breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack. I was eating bananas like I was a monkey. My potassium was so low, but it ain't low no more, because if you show me a banana today, I do not want to even smell it. So that lets you know that my potassium levels are right. Your body will tell you exactly what you need. We just got to pay attention to it. It'll tell you exactly what you might want to think about giving up as well if you pay attention to it, because you will get, if not nauseous, downright sick. So we have to get in tune with our bodies, because I'm going to tell you the most unnatural thing, in my opinion, is to go to a complete stranger of another species and have them tell you what's wrong with your body that you're in. That is so unnatural.
Yeah. And they can't stop anybody from taking the natural route either, really. And I just give this as a quick example. Real quick. And I'm going to yield the floor with this. It was a period I was working in a restaurant, and the sister had came in with her, relatively infant child. You know what I mean? It was still in the breastfeeding stage. And, and I just say, working in a restaurant, I realized some of our people is the sickest people. But I'll just say this.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was they had an attitude with the sister because she was breastfeeding her child, but she had a blanket over the child and over her breast. So nobody could really see, but if you knew what was going on, you knew what was going on. And, you know, people was complaining, trying to tell the manager, like, you know, this woman is over here breastfeeding her child in the restaurant. And he was like, we can't do anything about that. You know what I mean? She has that right. As long as her breast is not out and everybody can see, it is what it is. So, you know, and with that being said, they couldn't do nothing about the fact that, yes, she was in a public venue privately, though, giving her child the nourishment it needed. You know what I mean? And she wasn't eating no meat in the restaurant or none of that. You know what I mean? She had her salads and things like that, and at the same time, you know, was giving the child nourishment. So the venue, it's about how you handle it, but sisters can definitely do that. I don't know if I'm the one qualified to even have this conversation. I'm just bear witnessing to things that I've just wanted to share that, Islam, and they can't do nothing about it.
No, they can't. They cannot. Well, look, we got like 3 minutes left before this broadcast ends. Roz, what are we going to do for tomorrow?
Well, I have to tell you, there's been nothing but a lot of confusion at the New York classes ever since they put us down to, ever since the schedule was for us for the 2 weeks, which is still the 2nd and 3rd that we physically appear there. However, on the 4th is etymology with Abdullah, and that was last week, and he got he got it confused about that. He thought it was the last, which would have been, this is the 5-week month. And Red Pill was going to be doing something on this 5th week. And when that occurred last week, so I'm waiting for communication from them on what, you know, how it's going to be tomorrow night. So I can't be sure of which one of them two is going to be there. And I just haven't heard from them, so I don't know. Either way, we'll be broadcasting, but I'm not sure because we physically are not scheduled to be there ourselves.
Well, and there you have it. So I guess
to be there.
what you want to do is to check the RVBey Publications website prior to going to the National Theater to see what or who is going to be there, or if there even will be a class. Would you say? There.
Well, there'll be a broadcast, but physically a class. Unfortunately, you know, I don't know. That's where it's at right now. But you will check it because I had to take it down on the site until I know exactly who or what. So tomorrow, just check it and I'll know.
So make sure and check us back here at the MHHS Blog Talk Radio, where we broadcast Moor's Heritage and History School on Wednesday, beginning at 7:30. If we're not there physically, we will be here physically at the MHHS Blog Talk Radio. So check us out tomorrow at 7:30, and then check us back here next Tuesday for same time, same back channel. All right? Peace and love to all, and thank you so much for listening.
Good love. Smile.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
We finally agreed on a paint color, so I know what I'm doing this weekend.
Ace is the place when you're the labor on Labor Day.
Don't miss Ace's big Labor Day weekend paint sale. Now through Monday, buy a gallon of our best Valspar Optimist, get one 50% off. Buy our best value, Clark & Kensington.